The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Earnestly podcast coming to you with one of my best friends in the entire world, Dan Vezina with us. First time on the podcast, actually. Can't believe that.
Yeah, it's weird.
It is weird. Someone who likes to talk as much as you do, and we never did a podcast together. Weird.
we might have to do multiples.
And I'm okay with that.
You know.
I'm more than okay with that. Yeah, I'm more than okay with that.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
What's up, man? When the last time I saw you?
What'd you say?
When's the last time I've seen you? I've seen you like at least a year and a half.
Yeah, it's been a while. Probably right before we started taking care of Susan's mom.
Right.
Susan's mom,
your wife, of course,
is in the. Yeah, her mother is. Well, has the beginning stages of dementia, so we take care of her and do shopping for her, and we take her out, on the weekends and stuff. We drive her around and buy her food and whatever,
Right.
We just kind of help her out as needed, change light bulbs, shit like that.
Yeah. I miss Susan's mom, man. We heard her and I had a nice time in New York when he got married.
Yeah.
So a couple of slow dances here and there. It's nice.
Yeah, I saw that. I don't know if I ever told you this, man, and a lot of people, a lot of the guys I work with tease me about it, but I still watch our wedding video like once a month.
Oh, really? Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah,
I'm not surprised by that though, because you're a hopeless romantic.
Let's put it this way.
Okay.
I wasn't allowed to be for a very long time.
Right.
And then I met Susan, and kind of all of that changed.
Mm-hmm.
And I was not allowed, but Susan's kind of always given me the freedom to be the, crazy weirdo that I am.
Yeah.
She's used now, 11 years later, she's used to the fact that I'm me and that I'm completely out there and I say weird shit. And, I say weird things to make people laugh and that kind of stuff.
Well, we've known each other now for what, 17 years, about 17, 16 years.
17, 18, something like that.
By far, this last decade or so has been the most happiest I've ever seen you. It's not even close.
Yeah, it's a weird situation for someone like me who being happy is extremely important to me.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people thrive in chaotic environments or they thrive in drama, and there are people that love that and they're addicted to it and whatever, and that's their drug, that's their kink, that's their fetish, that's their whatever.
Right.
Me, on the other hand, after having a pretty kind of tumultuous life,
mm-hmm.
I kind of thrive on being happy. I kind of thrive on being with my wife, being with my dog, being with our friends, hanging out with you and Lauren. Obviously, you guys came over one time. We made cookies at like 11 o'clock at night.
I miss those days, man. That's before we had kids. That's before we had kids.
Yeah, and those are the things. Those are the memories that when I'm sitting at work and I'm stressed out or I'm driving home in traffic, that's the shit I think about.
Mm-hmm.
Most people, it may sound crazy or it may sound, whatever, but those are the things that, like, when I drive home, all I think about when I drive home is that I'm going home to my wife. Like, I'm going home to someone that I can't be away from her for more than a day, or I start to get like, what's going on? Like, what's wrong? And not wrong like our marriage is wrong or something's wrong in the marriage. It's more of like a part of me is missing. And that's a weird feeling, because in my past with my ex-wife, she would go away for like 4 days or 5 days, or one time she went away for like a month. I didn't care.
Right.
And that's probably because I was not emotionally stable. back then. I was very I was kind of all over the place. I was, I was in a bad situation that I didn't want to be in, and I didn't know how to get out, and I didn't know how to tell people what I was feeling. I went through, but during the time that that you and I met, and we've known each other all this time.
Right.
I've been through, 3 different therapists.
Yeah.
I've been through, 12 years of anger management, all kinds of stuff. And it's just, I don't know if all of that was the journey to prepare me for meeting Susan, because the way that I saw Susan the first time and the way that I met Susan the first time and all of those things are so important to me. And so she would tell you that I talk about it a lot, that it's something that I focus on a lot. And it's something that has been really beneficial in my life to kind of realize that, okay, this is where I was meant to be. The only regret I have is that I wish I could have met her sooner. I wish I could have met her. We went to high school together, so I wish I could have met her at the reunion. Right. It's like the 10-year reunion or something. And now, obviously, obviously, there's no telling that if I met her at the reunion, she would have thought I was a great person and wanted to be with me or whatever. She probably would have thought I was an asshole, and I probably would have been an asshole.
Look, by the way, high school for you guys, early 90s, right?
Yeah, we both graduated in 93.
Right.
I was supposed to graduate in 92, but there was a little snafu where I didn't go to school a lot my freshman year.
It's kind of important. You got to do that to pass.
Yeah, I learned. I just want you to know, I learned something from that experience, and what I learned from that experience is, I believe kids are in school 180 days, and I think I only actually went to school 80 days my freshman year. There was 100 days in there missing where I don't know. Right. I decided playing music and going to the beach was more important.
Well, you have the hair for it, for both.
So, yeah, man, I would give anything. I would give anything to have met Susan sooner.
Yeah, but I think it's part of the journey, though. I think that's kind of going through the stuff you went through, which led you to that. Again, we can question how we got there, but the thing is, maybe maybe you don't get there if those things don't happen.
Yeah,
it's serendipitous in that way.
It taught me a lot.
Yeah,
it taught me a lot, and there's a moment in our wedding video, and you were there obviously, but
that's part of the wedding
party, there was a moment in our vows, specifically Susan's vows, that it's even hard for me to talk about. I get choked up thinking about it.
Right.
The officiant who was reading the vows to Susan, she was kind of doing like this build up, and it was beautiful. She was doing this build up to where Susan would then at some point begin reciting her vows. So there's a point at which the build up section in the beginning, Donna Marie, our officiant, says, "I've waited a long time for you." And she's essentially saying what Susan was feeling, because we had filled out these questionnaires. And so she built this beginning, and she built this like crescendo, if you will, of emotion. And when she said that, Susan, the way Donna Marie speaks is she kind of says something and she pauses a little. There's a little bit of a pause there, and it's so that the words have impact. And when she said, "I've waited a long time for you," and Susan said, "Forever," and it was just like, that blew me away. And it was just a moment where I couldn't, there's a point at which things line up and things make sense. And, it's the culmination of everything that I worked for in my life emotionally. It was everything that I wanted coming together at once, and it was coming together in my favorite place, my favorite city, a city that I'm, for lack of a better word, I've been obsessed with since I was, 13 years old.
It's my birthplace, New York. Yep.
Yeah, when I first discovered Run DMC and I heard King of Rock and and I was like, where the fuck is Queens? And I wanted to know where they came from. I wanted to know their story. And so that city and, your birthplace, if you will.
Yeah.
It's so much a part of mine and Susan's story now that, I can't begin to tell you how many trips we've taken to New York. I mean, in 2019, we took 3 trips to New York. You
guys go at least once a year.
We go at least once a year for our anniversary. Yeah. We're not going this year. We didn't go last year, obviously because of COVID. Right. But yeah, it's. I mean, I'm walking around in my house right now, and over my living room couch is a huge picture of New York, and to my right is a picture of the Brooklyn Bridge, and then to all over our house is pictures of New York and pictures of that world, because that is that is our world. That's our city. It's not just a destination for tourists. It's a destination for people who genuinely love it. And I genuinely love my wife. And if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be the person I am.
I believe that too, because I've known you. Like, there is obviously, before you met your wife, and then everything since then. And as I said, we've known each other 17 years. Our, connection, of course, was through music. We have to go into details, but part of how we met was the fact that your ex-wife used to manage my band. And, and that's how we met. That's how we became close. But yet I never really felt I knew much about you, especially on the emotional end of things, in terms of your life story, whatnot. Probably till after everything, went the way it did. Now I still talk to your ex-wife once in a while. We're still friends, so we're not going to try to make this about her and all that. But we know. But what I will say is this: is that you never felt happy. I never saw you happy, then as you are now. Whatever it may be, but you are definitely a different person in the last 11 years than you were the first 6 or 7 I've known you.
Yes, I was okay. I've always been comfortable in my own skin. That's something that all of my friends growing up have since told me. I mean, I'm 47. I'll be 48 in July. And all of my friends that I was in high school with have all approached me at different times and said, I remember the thing I remember about you is you're comfortable in your own skin. What they didn't know, was all the darkness in me. They didn't know all of the self-loathing and anxiety and all these things that kept me from being happy. And then at the same time, they didn't know from outward appearances that I was unhappy. And I was unhappy for so long that the first time I hung out with Susan face to face, I didn't even talk to her. She would tell you, I didn't say 2 words to her. And it was because I was in a weird place. I was obviously, as you know, I was married at the time, and I was trying desperately to figure out how to walk away from that. I didn't have the emotional strength or the backbone at the time to just be upfront and tell my ex how unhappy I was. And I was looking for something that was what I was missing. And I did not intend at any time to meet someone else. My original plan was to just disappear. I mean, to be honest with you, Ernest, I was literally going to disappear.
I remember you telling me that, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to pack up my truck. I had a newer truck at the time, And I was going to pack up my truck and just go because I was so unhappy and I was no longer comfortable in my own skin. And it was just soul crushing. And I was faking every moment. And it was unfair to the people that were in that moment with me. And it was unfair to me. And I don't want to talk bad about people in my past or anything like that, because at this point, it's 11 years later with Susan. And I don't think that's necessary. It's just not important anymore. The way we got together, neither one of us are proud of it. Neither one of us wave it like a fucking banner, like a flag, like you see all the people in, you know, in the political realm, you see people waving flags a lot now and shit. It's not a flag. Like I don't wear it on my sleeve.
Right.
Like, look how cool I am. I hurt someone and walked away like an asshole. No, we were not in any way, shape, or form proud of the way we got together. Would I change any of it? No, absolutely not. And the reason why I would not change any of it is because Susan saved my fucking life. I tell her all the time, and I'm sure you've seen on Facebook, the countless times where I say, you saved me. Because otherwise, I would have disappeared. I would have moved,
right.
To New York or Georgia. Or I love Atlanta.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that, but I absolutely love Atlanta, and I love Savannah. So
right.
I was thinking of moving to there's a city in Georgia, and I believe it's called Carrollton. And I was thinking of moving to Carrollton, Georgia, just because I wanted to be happy.
Right.
And then I walked into Red Lobster one night. And my entire life changed.
Of all the places in the world, Red Lobster. What the fuck? One of the most overrated restaurants in history in the world, by the way.
Yeah, it's fucking terrible.
Yeah.
That's if you want frozen seafood, that's the best place to go.
Yeah.
So I walked into Red Lobster one night. This is the story. I'll tell you the whole fucking thing.
Okay.
I walked into Red Lobster one night. Let me back up. Before I went to Red Lobster, I had a sinus infection. I was sick. Wasn't COVID because it didn't exist back then. So I was sick, had a sinus infection. I took NyQuil. It was January 22nd. January 22nd is my father's birthday.
Right. That's
the only reason I remember all this, other than the woman. So I walked into Red Lobster after taking NyQuil. My mom had called before we left and said, "It's your dad's birthday. We're going to Red Lobster." And I did one of those, "Oh fuck, oh shit, Mom, I just took NyQuil. What the fuck am I going to do? I'm going to be like nodding out at the table like a crackhead." And she said, "Well, you're just going to have to deal with it, whatever." So we went to Red Lobster, and I started nodding out at the table. I had a hoodie on. I had my hood up.
Right.
Because I was playing incognito rock star guy. So.
But you did wear hoodies. You did wear hoodies pretty often though back then, though, didn't you? Yeah.
Yeah. I wore hoodies all the time back then, dude. I used to go into the mall with a fucking hood on. So, but no, I remember I had my hood up, and my mom said something to the effect of, "You look like a drug addict," because I was starting to nod at the table. So I totally looked like Kurt Cobain or someone at the table, like nodding out and shit. Sorry, Kurt. I know you're gone, but whatever. Heroin's a bitch.
Heroin is a bitch, yeah.
So she said, "Why don't you go splash water on your face?" And I'm like, "Okay, I guess I'll do that." So I got up, and when I stood next to the table, I saw a woman across the restaurant,
mm-hmm.
and I'm gonna get choked up talking about this.
Uh-oh.
And then she smiled at the person she was with, and I saw her smile, and I just fell apart. I was like, "Holy fucking shit!"
Mm-hmm.
Internally, that's what I was thinking.
I gotta be honest with you, dude. Your wife has a nice smile, though. Seriously.
Yeah, she
has one of those smiles.
Yeah, she kind of lights up a room whenever she walks in.
Yeah, she does. That is accurate.
So I walked to the bathroom and I tried to walk all like, sexy. So I tried to walk to the bathroom all sexy while I'm fucking strung out on NyQuil. Yay, NyQuil. I'm high as a kite and my teeth are green. Merry fucking Christmas. Oh, sorry, that's Dennis Leary.
Yeah.
So love Dennis Leary. So I walked to the bathroom. She didn't notice me walk by because she was kind of deep in conversation with someone.
Mm-hmm.
I came out of the bathroom and I walked slower this time, and she didn't see me. So
did you show your ass? Did you at least show your ass? Did you pose?
No, I didn't show my ass because I mean, I didn't have a Speedo or a thong on, so what's the point?
So no white boy swag.
No, I couldn't do like the white boy swag. It just, it came across more like Seattle fucking, heroin addict.
Yeah. High on night.
Like I was all of a sudden I was going to tune my guitar down to drop D and play one finger power chords.
Yeah.
So after that, for some reason, well, not for some reason, but you've met my wife. So
yeah.
After that time, I got home, and all that was in my head, other than the thought of, I want to feel better, I don't want to feel like shit anymore, was I need to go to bed, and I really want to know who that girl was.
Wait a second. So how does this happen? Like, the way this is all segued out, like, you think it's that you met at a bar, not at Red Lobster. Red Lobster's a fucking restaurant. Was she at the bar at Red Lobster? Because
no, she was sitting in the dining room of Red Lobster, which, by the way, we refer to as the motherland because that's where everything started.
Right. Red Lobster motherland? That's crazy.
Technically, that's where it started.
By the way, our quote-unquote motherland for me and Lauren is Pollo Tropical.
Oh, yeah?
Well, we didn't meet there, but that's where we did all of our early dates. That was cheap.
Oh, I have to tell you,
a budget.
I have to tell you, I have some very, very, very close friends that are near and dear to my heart that live in Miami. They're Cuban. They're from Westchester.
Yeah.
What up, Westchester? So I always tease them that Pollo Tropical is the best Cuban food I've ever had, which is totally a lie.
Totally bullshit. Yeah.
Well,
LeGrand's better than Pollo, actually.
Yeah, I've eaten their Cuban food, and they're literally sitting in their backyard. It doesn't get much better than that. So, but fast forward, I'll go back into what we were talking about, but fast forward like 2 weeks, I would sit up at night on the computer and look at guitars I couldn't afford, like stuff I wanted to buy that I couldn't afford. And I was on Facebook one night, and it said this girl that I went to high school with named Christy had become friends with a girl named Susan Kelly. Now, I don't know if it still does this, and I don't really care if it still does, but back then when that would occur, the person that they had become friends with, in this case Susan, they would highlight that person's name in blue. And you could put your cursor over their name to see their picture or to click on their name to go to their page. I put my cursor over the name Susan Kelly, and I went, holy fucking shit, that's the girl from Red Lobster.
That's so serendipitous, though. That really is.
And
like, what are the odds of that happening?
It's funny you say that, and there's a reason why I'm saying it's funny you say that. So give me a minute, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
So I saw her picture, and in the picture she was smiling, if I remember correctly. You know how some people smile and they don't show their teeth?
Yeah.
She was smiling without showing her teeth. So I started looking through photos, and I'm like, maybe I'm crazy. Maybe it's a different person. So I went through a couple photos, and there was one of her smiling, showing her teeth. And I went, holy fucking shit, that's her. And I got choked up, and I'm like, something's not right. It's not right for me to be feeling these kind of emotions like this.
Please tell me you added her to friend immediately.
Oh, yeah, immediately. I sent her a friend request. We started talking. We talked every night. For a while.
Did she realize that you were at Red Lobster, like, Did you realize
she
that?
saw me. She saw me when I walked in the room.
Okay.
She saw me when I walked in the building.
She saw the Speedo.
And she also, she saw the Speedo. She also mentioned to me, I don't know if you've ever seen my Speedo, but it's pink and it says juicy across the ass.
Yeah, I've seen it before. Did you wear it on stage one time?
Yeah, I think I wore that on stage once, and I think my ball slipped out on the left side, and I had to like tuck it back in.
Yeah,
it sucked.
Yeah,
it was bad.
Yeah,
no one wants to see that.
Free to balls.
So we started talking, and it was about, I don't know, it was maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that. And she asked me one night. She said, "Do you want to meet up with us?" And it's my friend's daughter's birthday or whatever. And I said, "Yeah, I guess I could do that." And that was the night that was February 20th. So basically just under a month from the first time I saw her. And I talked to her best friend the whole night. I completely ignored Susan, which I hope she still tells that story one day when I'm not around.
Right.
And at one point during that conversation with her best friend, she had touched my leg under the table, and I felt like I had been hit by lightning. And it was the moment that occurred, and the moment I felt like that, I realized that I needed to exit. I needed to exit the space that I was occupying already.
Right.
And I needed to be with her.
Right.
And it kind of, that it sounds crazy, and it even saying it out loud, it sounds crazy because we had not even said a fucking word to each other.
Yeah.
But there was something in that touch, and there was something in that caress. It was not sexual. It was not a sexual touch. It was not a romantic touch. It was, "Hey, I'm right here." And it was almost like she was saying, "I'm right here, and I'm never going anywhere." And I was like, "Fuck, what do I do?"
It's funny because, like, yeah, like you hear this. I've heard part of the story before in the past, obviously, but
yeah,
your story especially does sound very storybookish. Yet, everything you're saying is true.
Yeah, yeah, and so fast forward a couple days. Okay, fast forward a couple days. So that was the 20th of February. Her birthday is February 23rd. So she just turned 46 a couple months ago. But fast forward in that time to that day, to her birthday, she came and we spent some time together. And I knew on February 23rd that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with her.
Right.
That was it. You know, like you hear people say, when you know, or I met this person and we went on a couple dates and then he held my car door and I just knew, or whatever.
Right.
I knew. She held my hand sitting in her car and I knew. And I knew immediately. I was like, I can't be without her in my life. Whether it's as a friend, whether it's as a best friend, whether it's as a wife, a fiance, a girlfriend,
right.
a fucking gardener. I didn't give a shit. I just knew that I needed her in my life. And I was going to do anything necessary to make that happen. And fast forward through lots of talking, lots of discussing, like, what kind of relationship do you want? What have your relationships been like in the past? Because I wanted to make sure. I asked her a lot of questions that I'm sure were very uncomfortable for her.
Right.
I asked a lot of questions because I was fearful that I was going to be heartbroken or that I was going to be in a bad situation all over again. And so I said, listen, this is the kind of life I want, and I'll be honest. I mean, she's heard this before and she can hear me in the other room. So
yeah.
She said, what do you mean? I said, well, the kind of life I want is basically one part romantic comedy, one part porn movie, and one part regular comedy. I want to laugh a lot. I want a lot of affection. I want a lot of what a relationship, in my opinion, should be. And we were sitting at her house one day, and I said to her, I said, I know that I have to get divorced. I know that this is messy. I know that I've kind of dragged you into a situation that is very uncomfortable for the both of us. But when we get married again, or when we get married, where would you like to get married? And she looked me in my face and started crying. And she said, are you real? And I said, what do you mean, am I real? Of course I'm fucking real. She goes, no, seriously. And she was like holding my hands and she's crying and she goes, are you real? And I said, yeah, I'm real. Why? And she goes, most people that are going through what you're going through don't want to get married again. I said, I don't want to be without you. I said, I don't want to be without you. And I want to marry you. I just can't do it right now. I said, it will fucking happen. I promise you. It will happen. But you've got to believe in me. You've got to trust me. And you've got to know that I'm on the right path to make it happen.
Right.
And that would have been early March.
2010?
When that conversation happened.
Yep.
Yeah, it was early March 2010 when that conversation happened. A few days after Easter, I left my situation.
Mm-hmm.
And it was 2 days after Easter, I moved out of where I was living.
Mm-hmm.
And it was 2 days after that. So I left on a Tuesday, and on Thursday of that same week, I was riding in a car. I was actually driving a car that Susan was in. And I turned to her and I said, do you remember all the times that you said if I followed you home, you would keep me? And she said, yeah, I remember saying that. And I would keep you. And I said, how about I come home tonight and I never leave? And that was the Thursday after Easter of 2010. And I came home that night. I had no clothes here. I had nothing in this house. And I never left.
Yeah, you pretty much just dropped everything. Your life, your former life, and just went on with it.
Yeah.
I do remember being, I don't want to say critical, because I was still back then kind of conservative, if you will, in a lot of the things, how you handle things. So while I did agree,
you were worried about me. I know that.
Yeah, I was very worried about you, and not only that, you had actually at that time too. You were kind of off the grid a little bit because I actually got engaged that same time. I got engaged around the same time, and I started putting together like my wedding list of people I wanted to invite. And then fast forward to the situation, you're now doing something else now and whatnot, and I was trying to catch up to what's going on. And I wasn't critical, but I did say that while it wasn't something that I would have done, I mean, the way you handled it.
Yeah, no, you were very honest with me about that.
That's what friends do. Friends do that all the time. But, at the same time, it was understood why. And I think once you opened up to why you're unhappy with life in general and whatnot, it made sense.
Dude, I was unhappy. There is a point in that story before I met Susan. There was a point in that story where my grandfather passed away.
Yeah.
I was so unhappy. I almost committed suicide. I actually went to a beach in Miami Beach and was going to drown myself.
Right.
And a cop saw me sitting on the beach crying. And he was like, are you okay? And I said, my grandfather died. My life is basically in shambles. I don't want to be married to the person that I'm married to.
Weren't you in school that time too? You were in school that time,
yeah,
right?
I was in school full time, and I was so overwhelmed. I was so overwhelmed with so many emotions, and I wasn't aligning my thoughts properly.
Mm-hmm.
Properly in the sense of I wasn't aligning my thoughts, and I couldn't get out of my head enough to how people like self-check in and they kind of, when I say self-medicate, I don't mean like with alcohol. I just mean you kind of check in with yourself and like, okay, I'm going to be okay. I'll be all right or whatever. And I was so unhappy back then that I didn't know who to tell, and I didn't know who to call, and I didn't know who to talk to. And the funny part is I had therapists back then. I had 2 different therapists. Actually, yeah, I had 2 back then. So I had an anger management counselor,
right,
which his name was Frank Ugarte, and Frank passed away a number of years ago. And Frank saved my life. You know, Frank saved my life many times. And I remember Frank telling me, one day someone is going to come into your life and it's going to fuck you up. It's going to fuck you up. And I remember him telling me that, and I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? Are you talking about like some dude's going to want to fight me? Because at the time, I wasn't thinking clearly. And Frank said, trust me on this. You're going to meet a woman that levels you, where you are so vulnerable that you can't look her in the face without crying. And I was like, fuck you, man. And I was so aggressive. I was so aggressive and I was so aggro back then.
Right.
That, for lack of a better explanation, I just told everyone to fuck off all the time.
Yeah.
And I never listened. I never really listened to what people were telling me. And when Frank told me that, I cried. And I remember sitting on the couch in his office, just sobbing. And he said, whoa, like it caught him off guard. And he's like, whoa, what's going on? And I said, Frank, I'm just fucking miserable, man. I don't know what to do. I don't know which way to go. I don't know which way is up. I feel like I'm lost. You have to remember, I didn't have a job. I had no money. I had nothing.
Right.
And I felt like I had nothing. So, and it was made clear to me often that I had nothing. So I had that conversation with Frank, and then my grandfather died. I can't remember if that was before my grandfather died or right after. But I had the conversation on the beach with the police officer. He made me sit on a bench with him. I sat on a bench with him. And I just told him, look, I don't know you. Sometimes it's easier for me to talk to strangers, you know, whatever. So I kind of poured my heart out to this police officer, and he said to me, he said, you know, you need to get right. You need to figure out what is right for you. And like something clicked in me in that conversation, and I started making an exit strategy. I started in my head. That was the disappearing part. Like I started making an exit strategy. I'm going to pack my truck and I'm going to take off. And then some fucking beautiful woman walked into my life. Some beautiful woman walked into my life, and like Frank told me, fucking leveled me. And obviously I've gone over the part of how we met, but so when I moved in, to go back to that, I guess, when I moved in, it was very uncomfortable for me. Not because Susan made it uncomfortable. It's new territory. It's a new house.
Shocking.
It's shocking. It's culture shocking.
Yeah, because you've been actually together for a long time. A long time.
Yeah. 12 years.
Yeah.
So, I was just I was out of my element, and I was trying to swim instead of sink or drown, and I didn't want Susan to see that. I didn't want her to see me as a failure or as someone who couldn't handle the pressure. There was a point at which I was sitting on her back patio and I was drinking like Pepsi or some shit. And she came outside, and I looked up at her when she came outside, and she goes, you know, it's okay to cry, right? And this is like in the middle of like my divorce proceedings had started, and she said, you know, it's okay to cry. And I just remember thinking, fuck, she sees right through me. Like, how the fuck does this woman who doesn't know me see right through me? And I was literally on the verge of just collapsing because of the pressure and the stress. My parents were fucking all over me. You know, they were all over me, dude. I mean, they were calling like constantly, like, you need to go back to your old life. You know, you've walked away from a good situation and all this bullshit. And all I kept thinking was, I grew up in the punk rock community. And yeah, the punk rock community has a part of it that's about loyalty and trust and stuff like that. And then the punk rock community that I started in which was like some of the 70s and 80s punk rock, was fuck you, do what you want and be happy.
Right.
And I started leaning
on that side, the ladder.
in that direction. Yeah. I started leaning on that side because it was kind of like, I guess they say fight or flight.
Right.
And I was going to come out swinging because that's what I've always done. I've always just come out swinging. And so it was like, you know what? This is where I'm meant to be. This is, this is everything. You said serendipitous earlier.
Yeah.
And I wanted to cover that because it's funny. If you've ever seen the movie Serendipity.
I have.
Okay. When Susan and I were first talking, I guess they would say, I gave her a copy of that movie to watch. And I hounded her for like 2 days. Did you watch it yet? Did you watch it yet? Did you watch it yet?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And it's so who we are. Like, that movie is as much a part of us. It's filmed in New York, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
Second of all, the two people that meet in the movie meet by chance. On top of that, they are both in relationships. When Susan and I met, though, Susan was single. She had just gotten out of a relationship with, well, I won't go there.
Yeah, I won't go there.
Yeah. So I remember hounding her about the movie. Okay, so anyone that ever listens to this conversation between you and I hope they watch it because it'll give them some.
That's definitely worth the watch. Definitely worth the watch.
So what it's like. So, but let me put it this way: I own like 4 copies of the movie. So, she watched it, and one day when we were talking, she goes, "That's us," and I said, "Yeah, absolutely." And so, somewhere in this span of time, my divorce was finalized, and Susan and I went and, for lack of a better explanation, we went and celebrated my freedom. We went to Ruth Chris. I told the people at Ruth Chris that it was our first anniversary, and they wrote "Happy Anniversary" on the plate in chocolate because I'm a fucking dick like that.
Yeah.
And that Ruth Chris, by the way, is a Ruth Chris my dad built. So, big ups to my dad.
Oh, okay.
For building a beautiful restaurant. And it just, everything snowballed from there, if you know what I mean. Like, then it turned into, because as you said, I was off the grid. So I laid low during the whole divorce proceedings. Like, we didn't go out. We didn't really go out of the house. We didn't really go anywhere. We just stayed in the house and really connected emotionally and maybe physically.
Yeah, maybe.
So maybe I don't think so. So, I was raised to be a gentleman, but I was also raised to say fuck you. So, so once we were able to be out and proud, I guess I started taking her everywhere. I was like, look, I need you to meet my family. I need you to meet my friends. Obviously, you met her.
Yeah, you guys are at my wedding.
Yeah, my parents met her. She looked fantastic at your wedding, too, by the way. I remember that. Yeah, Susan wore heels that day, which of course made her taller than me, and I'm not one of those people that even gives a shit about that kind of thing.
No, not tall. You like 5'8", 5'9", 5'8"?
My driver's license says 5'9", and
5'8", dude.
I like to say that I like to say that the lady at the driver's license bureau liked me enough to give me an extra inch.
Yeah. Because you ain't that tall.
Guys have been. Well, let's be honest. Guys have been lying about inches for fucking forever, since the dawn of time. So
it's what we do.
Yeah, it's what we do. It's like, I got 8 inches. Okay, yeah, whatever, Mr. Dollar Bill. Shut the fuck up.
Well, it's funny. Like, here's a weird thing too. It is possible that my wedding might have been the first time your ex and yourself went to the same room together. I think. Did you get divorced after my wedding?
Yeah, it was. No, it was before.
Because I got married in 2011.
It was finalized. It was finalized within 6 months.
Because you guys are both there. You guys are all both there.
Yeah, it was. Yes. My divorce was finalized in like August or September or whatever.
Right.
Was it June?
No, it was April.
Yeah.
April 3rd.
So.
April 3rd, 2011, I got married.
Yeah, no, I know that. I'm just saying before that it was...
Right, because we had started hanging out again, too, I think, also. I think I met Susan also before we got married, right around the time we got married.
Yes.
So we had started
right before.
Right, we had started to hang out a lot around that time, too. So,
yeah.
And then,
because
after you came back from your little hibernation, if you will, your physical hibernation.
My little hiding out in Susan's house. I kind of disappeared for a while, and it was nice. I needed that. To be totally honest, dude, I needed that. I needed to put all of my effort and all of my energy into someone. Susan's like the most positive fucking person I know, and it's really scary because I'm kind of the opposite at times. I'm the guy that, like, you know,
you're realist.
I'm the big picture realist guy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the big picture guy that goes, you know, well, this is going to be great. And I'm like, well, yeah, but let's prepare for this shit too, because I don't want to have to fucking deal with that, you know, or whatever. So I'm kind of the, I don't know. She's like a bright, sunny flower, and I'm more like fucking acid. You know,
definitely rough on the edges.
Yeah, I'm a little rough around the edges, more so than she would be. So, and I think that's a lot of how I was raised. I was just raised to not put up with shit and to be very direct. I'm from Detroit originally, and I was raised in Port St. Lucie as though I was living in Detroit. I was raised to be direct and straightforward and, you know, kind of an asshole, I guess. But at some point in that, or in that time frame when you and I started hanging out again, and
right.
Susan and I really started talking about getting married.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was an everyday bit of conversation. It was not the be all end all, like we talked about it constantly. It was, you know, hey, what do you want to do for lunch? And then inevitably at lunch, it was like, so where should we get married? You know, and it would come up, and I was usually the one bringing it up because I didn't want her to feel like she was pressuring me. So I kind of started, I guess, maybe applying pressure. Like, hey, I want to do this for real. Like, this is right. This is good.
You guys
isn't just serious. Good. This is amazing.
Yeah, you guys got serious pretty quickly. Like, you guys were already head first. You know, when I got married, especially too, you guys were head first. You know, I mean, obviously you guys talk about marriage in private, but there was no secret that this was going to go. That the end game wasn't going to be you guys uniting and, you know, in matrimony. That
right.
it was a matter of when.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't like you said. It was simply a matter of when. It was a matter of, we're going to make this fucking happen by any means necessary.
Yeah.
I even told her at one point, I'm like, if we have to go to the courthouse to get married, I'm okay with that. And then she sat me down. It may have been in that conversation, or it may have been a couple days later. She said, I don't want to do a courthouse wedding. It's my first wedding. I would like it to be something special. And I said, okay, well, you know, I think I made a stupid fucking joke because I'm an idiot and I say stupid shit. I think I said, well, we could do it at the courthouse with balloons. That would be special. And, you know, of course she looked at me like, you're an idiot, which is rightful.
It's funny though. It's kind of funny though.
It is, but it's
completely
humor, warranted. Yeah, it is funny. It's bad humor, and it is moderately amusing. But she was right in the sense that, look, this is her first wedding. You know, she waited a long time to meet someone that would love her the right way. You know, I mean, fuck. I was raised on Barry White. I was raised to love this woman. You know, I just didn't know. I didn't know that it would be her.
Right.
And now I'm glad it is. Now I'm glad that I get to spend every day, you know, talking with her and learning about her. You know, it's 11 years later. May 2nd will be our 7th wedding anniversary.
Yeah. Your wedding's, no, it's 6, isn't it?
7.
2015. You got married in 2015, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny. Your anniversary is not hard to. It's actually easy to remember because my birthday's the day before.
Yeah, because your birthday's the day before. Yeah. I mean, I would have married you.
Yeah.
But people frown on that whole, interracial marriage between two men or whatever people are pissed off about this week. Yeah. They frown on that shit is what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly. So. I gotta tell you, man, your wedding was fun. Your wedding was a lot of fun.
Listen, I'm not trying to take away, and I would never take away. You're excluded from what I'm about to say. Okay? Because I loved your wedding, and I loved seeing you with Lauren, and I love both of you very much. But here's the deal. There are not many people that can pull off the wedding that we pulled off.
Yeah.
There's more to the story of our wedding than people realize. Like the band that sang at our wedding is now signed to Rock Nation, which is Jay-Z's fucking label.
Right.
So figure that shit out. You know what I mean? There's not many people that can say things like that. Now, I'm not saying in any way, shape, or form that they got signed because of our wedding. That's not the truth. The truth is they did get signed. They are an amazing group. They sang my wife down the aisle,
awesome.
And our wedding was amazing because of it. They got signed because they play in Central Park.
Yeah.
They play in an area of Central Park called Bethesda Terrace, and they're a phenomenal group. And funny enough, they're all originally from Detroit, which blew me away the first time I found that out. But yeah, our wedding, I've been to other weddings, and I've been to quite a few of them, and ours, in my opinion, was the best, but I'm biased.
No, I've been to many weddings. I've been in many weddings, including yours. By far yours. I mean, again, I think because of the nature of planning a wedding. Because first off, okay, for the listeners of the podcast, number one, Dan and I only live 15 minutes apart. Number one, okay, so we're both in Florida.
Yeah.
You got married in New York City, okay?
Yeah.
So planning a wedding, that's like
and I got married.
Huh?
And I got married in the spot where I proposed.
Yeah, you did. And so planning a wedding that's outside your jurisdiction, it's really a challenge anyway, and to have all the bells and whistles with it. I mean, the fact that you guys pulled that off, honestly, I mean, it's amazing. And to me, honestly, like, there might have been some flaws in terms of getting things done perfectly, but you would have known that the way things ran. Everything seemed to be running smooth.
Yeah, I mean, this whole getting married in New York, by the way, I had nothing to do with that. I'll be honest with you.
That was her idea?
I had nothing to fucking do with that. Huh?
That was her idea?
It was Susan went to lunch one day with her maid of honor, which is a girl named Brandy. Brandy is an amazing human being. Mm-hmm. So they went to lunch, and by this point of the day of this luncheon, if you will, we had already been as a couple to New York at least 4 times.
Right.
Susan, by this point, was so in love with New York, and to this day, obviously still is, she can spot street corners in movies and go, hey, that's the corner of 36th and 8th. That's like right by our hotel. That's the corner of 42nd and 7th, or that's the corner of 73rd and 5th. That's Park Avenue. And I'm like, slow down there, fucking Magellan, because she's fucking awesome like that. So she picks up on all that, and it's become a part of her as much as it is a part of me. And so at that luncheon, Brandy said to Susan, I was at work. I was sitting in my desk at work. And Brandy said to Susan, you guys love New York so much. Why don't you get married in New York? And Susan started texting me and said, Brandy said we should get married in New York. And I remember I said something to the effect of, oh, did she? What do you think? And she said, I think it's a great idea. And I said, I think it's a fucking excellent idea. Let's figure this out. We'll talk about it later when I get home, because at the time, I don't think Susan was working at the time. I don't remember exactly, but I was working full time, and I was working like kind of funky hours because I was working like split shift kind of shit. It's weird. And I got home that night. It was like 5:30, 6 o'clock, and sat down, and Susan said, "What do you think? What do you think about us doing it in New York?" I said, "Let's fucking do it. Let's make this work. Let's make it happen." I said, "Whatever we need to do, let's do it." And that would have been sometime in 2012.
Yeah.
I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And we got engaged May 4th of 2012. So may the 4th be with you, of course.
Yeah, of course.
So we started talking bits and pieces, just so you know, we like little bits and pieces before that. Because we had been looking here locally before that luncheon conversation. And I kind of was hands off when we decided on New York, hands off in the sense that I was working all the time. So I was busy and my brain was, I was learning a new field. I wasn't in that field really at the time. I was kind of learning the field.
Mm-hmm.
And Susan started giving me ideas and throwing little things at me and, like, hey, what about this? And what about this? And what about this? And I'm like, fuck, this chick's brilliant. My wife to be is amazing and brilliant, and this is exactly what I've waited for.
Yeah.
And she was just throwing out all these good ideas, and we started talking about it, and then it snowballed into, getting marriage license, and well, obviously we had to go there and get the marriage license, but it snowballed into what you eventually were a part of. It turned into more than I could have ever expected. I mean, fuck, dude. We had our rehearsal dinner. We had our rehearsal dinner at the #1 pizza place in the fucking country. And I'm not talking
The Forest?
I'm not talking in New York State. I'm talking in the country. They've been voted best pizza place in the country before. Like, you know what I mean? The family-owned pizza place. The people that own it are now family to us. Like,
mm-hmm.
we were already friendly with them. We did a cake tasting. Before we ever got married. We did our cake tasting in New York City. Our cakes came from New York City. Everything was New York City based. So it's exactly what I wanted, and it is exactly what we as a couple needed. It was exactly what we needed. And it was honestly, it was an honor for you to be there. It was
mm-hmm.
an honor for everyone to be there, for me, for her. And it showed us that through anything, through my past, through all of it, that the only thing that really matters at the end of the day is her and I.
Right.
And that union, if you will, that relationship is more important than anything. So I don't want to say I'm blessed, because that's,
but you are blessed, though. You said it's okay to acknowledge that.
I'm not really a religious person, but I feel very blessed, and I feel very lucky that I ended up where I am. Dude, I have an amazing job. I have an amazing job that I go to every day, and all I do is make my bosses laugh, and we make fun of each other, and I do work, and then I go home.
Right.
The next thing you know, I look at the clock, and it's like, fuck, I gotta go home.
Yeah, and it's fun, and you go home to a place that's happy. And it's funny, like, I know Laura and I've a lot of times, we have friends with a lot of couples, and whether it be family or just friends in general. And we always say, I know she was always say back then, and even sometimes now, she'll like, I wish sometimes we were more like Dan and Susan. They have the perfect relationship. Like, yeah.
We're not. I mean, people have told us that. I'll be honest with you, and I appreciate that. Thank you for saying that or for thinking that. But we're not perfect. I mean, we have disagreements and stuff, and we argue sometimes. We fight sometimes. It's not.
I'll be honest with you,
marriage,
though. As long as I've known you guys, what you do, it's not fake, because I've been around you guys a lot. In the last
right.
decade. It is actually hard to believe you guys do fight.
If we fight, please know that if we fight, it's over very quickly, and
right.
There is no one in my life that I value more than her.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. when you have a romantic love like what we have, you have to nurture that. You have to, in a way, and you have to, in a way, put that first. Because I know that you will always be there for me, and I will always be there for you. That's a given.
Right.
But it's not a given that my wife will always be there. Right. I have to work for that.
That's so true, though, man.
The funny part is, but the funny part of it to me is I want to work for that. I want to earn that love from her because she deserves to have someone love her, and I deserve to have someone love me. And we work together so well that, it does look from the outside like it's perfect all the time. But of course, we're together all the time. We are going to argue and bicker and snap at each other once in a while or whatever the fuck you want to call it. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is that we're together. And I can't, when I look at the rest of my life, I look at the rest of my life kind of often, I guess. Yeah. And I realize that I don't see myself ever without her. And it's with COVID. COVID scared the shit out of me. It was something that I got really worried about my wife. I worked from home last year. Mm-hmm. I worked from home in April. The last 2 weeks of April, and that was when my mom passed, was when I was working from home. Yeah. So that's all of that as a whole. Losing my mom, I've lost, since I met Susan, I've lost like 17 people that I was close to. At one time in my life, I was close to them or was still in contact with a lot of them. And when COVID hit, if you will, I kind of hit a point where I was like, you know what? This is fucking frightening. I don't want something to happen to my wife. I don't want something to happen to me because I know if something happened to me, she would be devastated. And if something happened to her, I would be devastated. Right. And I think there's a point at which when you have that level of respect and that level of love, a little argument or a little bickering is fucking nothing. It's a blip on the radar of a perfect world. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like I couldn't be happier than I am when I'm with her. There are moments that add to that happiness, like when we see you guys, or we go see our friends in Miami, mm-hmm. or we go to New York. Those people or those places are augments or extras that make the happiness more. It boosts it up, And at the end of the day, I started living for her in 2010, and I haven't stopped. I mean, I do weird little things for her, and it's not about me. I do these things because I want her to have the life that she didn't have before I was around. Like my proposal in Central Park and shit like that. She didn't have people trying to do that for her. She didn't have men in her life that tried to do that for her. Right. And to be honest with you, it's because they were weak. And they were fucking, in my eyes, they were weak.
You definitely don't fall in that toxic masculinity thing. You definitely are. You do what you do, and that's it. And you don't make any excuses for it.
No, I just do what I do, man. Nothing I do is planned out. Nothing I do is like I did a bunch of crazy shit. I did a bunch of crazy shit for her birthday this year. Mm-hmm. That wasn't planned out. I didn't fucking sit around the night before and go, what am I going to do? How am I going to surprise my wife? No, it's all off the top of my head, man. I move really fucking fast. Yeah. And I've always moved really fast. And it's a detriment to my health because sometimes I'm, driving myself crazy. Mm-hmm. And I know I drive her crazy because sometimes I talk at 100 miles an hour and she's like, what the fuck are you saying?
I can relate to that. It's okay.
Yeah. And I'm not saying, she's never actually said to me, she's never actually said, what the fuck are you saying? She's actually just looked at me and been like, what? Because I'm just racing. My brain is going 100 miles an hour or whatever. But this year when I did this stuff for her birthday, it was like, look, there are things that are special to her. There are things that are special to me. The things that are important to her are important to me, and it should be that way. So, I did a bunch of little things. I sent her edible arrangement. And, our first dance as husband and wife was to a song by Edwin McCain called "I Couldn't Ask for More." And so what I did is I went on Cameo. Guess what? Edwin McCain is on Cameo. So I had him do a whole Cameo thing.
Oh, that's cool.
He spoke specifically to Susan and I, and, he actually played the song and recorded himself playing the song. And I did that off the top of my fucking head. I was sitting at work talking to my boss, and I said, I feel like I haven't done enough. And my boss is like, are you out of your mind?
Yeah.
Because I had already done a lot of things. So he's like, you seem like a crazy person. Are you okay? I said, yeah, I'm fine. My brain is going 100 miles an hour, and I want to do more. She deserves more because she's amazing. So somehow I saw the Cameo logo, and I was like, oh, shit, that's right. I wanted to do that. So I went and I sat down at my desk, and I did it.
It's cool. Yeah, the Cameo thing's really cool. I know a lot of, people in the media and celebrities, and really using that thing. Hey, you want to share a story how we first met? You and I?
Yeah, if you want me to share that, yeah, absolutely. I know we were talking about that before the video got all fucked up and everything.
Yeah.
Okay, so oh god, this is gonna make me sound bad after I said all these nice things.
Yeah.
And I probably sounded like I was fucking John Cusack in Say Anything and shit, like holding the radio outside my wife's fucking, outside my wife's house,
Yeah.
Well, she loves John Cusack, so that's why I just made that reference.
Mm-hmm.
But, I was holding the radio up and, trying to look fucking depressed or whatever he was trying to do.
Yeah.
So what year was it? 2004, 2005-ish? Something like that?
2005, I think.
2005? Yeah, it was 2005. You're right. So I walked into a room in Pompano Beach, Florida, for those listening in outer space or wherever the fuck you are.
For the record, Dan and I were in two separate metal bands at the time.
Yeah, we were in two separate bands, and Ernest had yet to learn that he loves me, but he was about to.
Yeah.
Ernest truthfully was my first wife. So, he is my chocolate bear. So I hope everyone will keep that going.
Let the folks know.
Call him that a lot. Yeah, let everyone know, and that they got to call you that all the time. So I walked into this room. There was probably 20 people, maybe a little less, maybe like 15.
Mm-hmm.
And in the corner of the room, I'm not sure why you were in the corner, but it kind of fucking makes sense.
Was on punishment.
So, yeah, you were on punishment, sitting in a corner eating.
Yeah, always eating.
So I walk in the room, and Ernest is sitting in this table. It's a rectangular table, and it's in the corner. So the back of his seat is actually like facing this little corner, and he's eating fried chicken from KFC. And I said something that most people would probably find offensive. And I said, oh, my God, don't tell me you're a black man eating fried chicken. Really? Are you seriously that cliche? Next, you're going to tell me that you're going to have watermelon for dessert. That's fucked. And I said, that's fucked up, dude. You can't be that cliche when you're obviously a badass in a metal band or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I said something along that train of thought.
Right.
And I remember I said to you, I promise you I'm not racist. My name is Dan, something to that effect.
Yeah.
I said, I'm Dan, and we've been friends ever since. And I remember because you laughed, and I was like, this dude's going to fucking kill me. He's going to murder me.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I don't even know this dude, and I'm talking shit already.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the next thing you know, I would say we fast forward a little bit, and we ended up at Churches one night, because Churches really is church for us black folk.
Yes.
I was
right.
I was born a poor. Listen, I was born a poor black child. Don't even start.
Yeah.
So
we've had that story before.
Ernest is the whitest black man I know. We ended up at Churches driving around in, I think it was your car.
Yeah, it was my old Toyota van.
Minivan.
Minivan, yeah.
Yeah, it was that dope. It was that dope minivan. Yeah, that's where you picked up all the chicks, was in a minivan.
Yeah, I miss that thing sometimes.
So, yeah, I miss it too, actually. And I remember we had a bucket of chicken in between us.
Yep.
And we were eating like chicken legs and talking shit. And I think we listened to a bunch of different music styles, which was really awesome.
Yeah, we
drove around and listened.
Just a lot of, I think you tried to introduce a lot of hardcore bands too that you were into at the time.
Yeah, I mean, I still am. That's a huge part of my life. But
of course.
Yeah, it's no, I just remember that, and I was thankful, and I'm thankful to this day that you're still around and that you weren't offended by that. And I'm sure that people are going to hear that and get the total wrong idea about me, but I don't really care.
Trust
what
me,
people think of me.
Dan is probably the most least racist person you're going to find in your life. Trust me on that.
So, but yeah, it kind of snowballed into where we are now, and you ended up in my wedding, and that's weird, I guess.
No, I mean, yeah, I guess if you look at the trick how we got here, yeah, I guess it's weird, but like just like a marriage now, how serendipitous it was. In a lot of ways, our friendship could be somewhat the same way too.
Yeah, it's. I'm shocked. Well, not shocked, but I'm lucky that we are where we are, and that things in our lives progressed and that progressed together, and that we've been friends this long. And if it wasn't for you, a lot of times back then, I wouldn't have been happy at all. I mean, there were little glimmers of happiness, like a couple shows that I played or whatever. But a lot of it was hanging out with you and talking shit and being silly. And, I've always been, I mean, come on, dude. I used to wear a t-shirt that said, "I heart midgets." And the I in the word midgets was a little dude. I mean, come on. I mean, I used to wear that shit everywhere. You
still have the shirt?
No, I got rid of that shirt years ago.
Oh shit!
And then I remember I was sponsored for a short period of time from a clothing company called I Love Vagina Clothing and stuff.
Oh wow!
I had been emailing them like crazy, and they sent me a couple free things. They sent me a free shirt. They sent me a free shirt and like a fucking bumper sticker or something. So I was bugging the shit out of them for free stuff, basically.
No, I know you still play. You still play, obviously, guitar still. Do you ever miss playing the band?
No, I don't miss playing. It's a catch-22. I'm mad. I'm mad sad. I guess I would be depressed. I don't know. I'm sad that Susan never got to see me play live. Because I think it would have been somewhat enjoyable for her.
Right.
And I don't know if you know, but Susan used to be a dancer.
Yeah, I knew that.
Like professional kind of dancing and stuff. And she was in a Miami Dolphins halftime show at one time, and she was in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade when she was in high school. And
the Macy's thing I knew, the Dolphins thing I didn't know.
Yeah, she's got all kinds of rhythm, and it's really fucking annoying because I'm obviously
super
white.
Shit.
And no, I can't dance for shit.
Yeah,
dude.
I really.
It's bad.
It's pretty bad.
So bad.
It's so stiff.
Yeah, it's really bad. It's very stiff and rigid. It's like I should just do the fucking robot or the Carlton dance and get it over with.
That'll be an upgrade.
Yeah, that would be an upgrade. Exactly. That would be a fucking upgrade. So,
what's funny though? You know what's really funny that I've noticed? What's really funny though? Like I feel like both our lives have kind of gone in a similar direction. Like when we left music, whatever reason we did it, we just left it behind and then went back.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still addicted to buying guitars and looking at guitars and I listen to a lot of guitar stuff on YouTube.
Of course, yeah.
Susan bought me a guitar. Susan bought me a beautiful guitar back for one of our anniversaries, for one of our wedding anniversaries a number of years ago. Mm-hmm. And it's purple. It's fucking purple sparkle, which is purple is one of my favorite colors.
Sparkle.
So
I guess
it's purple. It's purple sparkle on the headstock of the guitar.
Uh-huh.
I actually had a chrome plate made, and it actually says Susan. So I named the guitar after her because she got it for me at Sam Ash in New York City. What up, Sam Ash, 34th and 8th Avenue or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. Love that place. So yeah, that's like my you know, that's the guitar. Like I pull that out when I'm home or whatever. And I just got another guitar. I just got a USA Jackson soloist that I got because I'd always wanted one since I was a little kid. So I'm still heavily into guitars and music and stuff. I just don't have a desire to be on stage and run around and, you know, I mean, I was a maniac when we played. You know, I used to run around like a lunatic, and you know, that's why they made wireless systems.
Yeah.
So assholes like me can run around and be obnoxious. I mean, I remember running up to Dan, my singer at the time. I remember running up to him and like kissing him on the cheek, like in the middle of a fucking show, and he was like, "What are you doing?" Like he was just completely beside himself. He was like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Yeah.
You know, and and he was laughing like, Here goes Vezina acting like a fucking lunatic, you know, and that's exactly what I did. I ran up to him in the middle of a show in front of, you know, probably in front of 100 kids or whatever it was, and kissed him on the cheek. And I know he was probably uncomfortable with that, but whatever, it's fine.
Oh well,
he'll get over it.
He'll live and learn. Live and learn.
You know, he'll get over it, or maybe one day he'll wake up and realize he loves cock. I don't fucking know. So, you know, who knows? He's Mexican or something. He is, by the way. He's actually Mexican.
He is Mexican? I thought he was American, actually.
No, he's Mexican. His parents are Mexican, and he grew up here. I mean, he's American in the sense that he grew up in Florida. So,
but his roots are Mexican.
Huh?
His roots are Mexican. His roots.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, his roots are Mexican. So I used to always tease him that he was going to start like a metal mariachi band or something.
All right, one more thing before I let you go. One more thing, because we got a lot we could talk about tonight, but I want to save it for another episode. You got vaccinated today.
Yeah.
How was that?
It was all right. They stuck a needle in my arm. Susan said I wasn't allowed to ask them if they would put it in my butt, and I mean, you know, my boss thought that was funny though.
Yeah, I thought it was funny too.
I told him today, I was like, I was going to ask him if they'd put it in my butt, but I don't think anybody would think that was funny.
So you didn't grow an arm?
It wasn't bad, man. I mean, my arm hurts. Straight up, my arm hurts right now. And, you know, I mean, to be honest, a lot of this is the way I look at it. This is the way I look at vaccines. This is the way I look at COVID, okay? I love you as my friend. I love my wife. I love Lauren. I love your kids. Anything I can do to protect them and at the same time protect myself, I'm going to do.
Right, of course.
Because I don't want to see anything happen to them. I don't want to see anything happen to you. I don't want to see anything happen to my wife. And can you imagine the level of guilt if I was the one that got my wife sick and she died?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a couple I read about. There's a couple I read about on Yahoo News or Google or somewhere. I think it was Yahoo News, where the wife brought home COVID from work. You know, she brought it home in like a doggy bag, I guess. She brought it home. She was infected, did not realize. She was asymptomatic. It was passed between her and her husband, hopefully in a romantic way. And it tore him apart and he died. The guilt that woman feels is fucking insane. She technically killed her best friend.
Right.
The guilt that woman felt in reading her story, I would never, ever want someone to feel that way because of me. So anything I can do to protect you or your wife or your kids or, you know, the guy at the corner store, you know, there's a dude at the corner store I talk to all the time because he's a nice dude.
Right.
You know, I wouldn't want anything to happen to him. I wouldn't want anything to happen to his kids. I wouldn't want anything to happen to, you know, to anybody, to my bosses. My bosses are amazing people. I don't know if they're ever going to get vaccinated. It's just something that they're apprehensive about, and they have every right to be.
I'm not going to lie to you. I'm in the same boat. You know, I'm very apprehensive about getting vaccinated. Now, will I get vaccinated? Most likely, yes, I will be getting vaccinated. But I'm not going to lie to you. There's a lot of apprehension. But I have the same stance as you do. If I can protect my friends, my family, my parents, especially, who have health challenges right now, if I can protect them, I'm going to do so.
Yeah, man. I mean, losing my mom is what shifted my focus. That shifted the way I thought.
Right.
My mom died a year ago this month.
Yeah.
And the 23rd of this month will be a year. So it shifted my focus. Now, my mom died from pneumonia. Okay. She was never tested for COVID. And if it would have been COVID, she would have died faster. Okay. She died from pneumonia. She had been sick since January, which I didn't know. I didn't know she was sick since January until like fucking March. Someone told me, and I think one of my parents told me in March. So when my mom passed, I was working from home, and lack of a better explanation, it shifted my thinking. It shifted my thinking to, if it was COVID, like I said, they don't know that it was, or they don't know. She was never tested, so there's no truth behind any of it. I simply shifted my thinking of, now everyone is extremely important to me. They always were,
right.
But I kind of realized that maybe I was being a little lazy with my friendships, and maybe being a little lazy with contacting people and calling people and so on. And I realized that maybe I wasn't being a good friend. Maybe my mom dying was fucking karma for me being an asshole to my friends. I don't fucking know. But what I know is that it made me try harder. It pushed me to try harder, because the way my mom wouldn't want me sitting around crying, if you know what I mean.
Right.
She'd want me to go eat barbecue and do a toast to her with a beer or something.
Right.
And
it was definitely the inflection point for you.
Yeah, it was definitely. Yeah, absolutely. And I got vaccinated with those thoughts in mind.
Right.
I want to be here long term for my wife. I want to be here long term for my wife, for you, for your kids, for Lauren, for anyone that needs me, or feels they need me.
Right.
I want to be here long term, especially, for my wife and our friends in Miami, and my family in Michigan, and my family in Alabama, and our family in Miami, and our family in Detroit, and our family in, my wife's from West Virginia, so her family and whatnot in West Virginia.
Right.
We want to be here. We want to be here for those people. So I got vaccinated because of it. I mean, I've had worse things in my body.
Oh God!
I've had
that can go anywhere, by the way.
When I was younger, so
that statement can go anywhere.
Huh?
That statement can go anywhere. Just for the record.
Yeah. I allegedly, I've had worse things in my body when I was younger, and just didn't give a shit about myself. I didn't care if I lived or died back then. So, I just want to be here long term for my wife. And at the end of the day, that's really what it's all about. My wife, my friends, my family, and all of our friends really are our family. So it's,
right.
we're both only children. I'm an only child. She's an only child.
Mm-hmm.
I'm adopted. I'm adopted and shit. So, yeah, I got vaccinated, and that's it. I mean, I go back, the 28th of this month. I go back the 28th for the second dose. That's the one that I'm more concerned about.
Yeah.
That's the one where people have had, like, a rash or some kind of side effect.
Yeah.
And I'm allergic to penicillin. So.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, which means no hookers for me.
Yeah.
You can't have hookers without penicillin.
Can't do it.
Hand in hand. Yeah. So, anyway, that's the dose I'm worried about. Really, I mean, it's that's the one that I've read and heard about, and I have a couple friends that are doctors and stuff, and I actually talked to one of them the other day and asked him questions and that kind of shit. He said, you're allergic to penicillin. They'll probably make you wait longer. I thought he was full of shit. He wasn't. They made me sit there for a full half hour, where everyone else had to sit for like 15 minutes. So I sat in my car for a full half hour until they said, "Okay, you're fine. You can go." I'm like, "Really?"
Did you blast metal in the car at least?
Oh yeah, dude. I was like rocking out to Terror, like on volume 10.
Yeah.
And at one point I had the window open, and I remember the lady walked up to ask me. She's like, "Can you turn your radio down?" Yeah, I can turn the fucking radio down. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hung out for a while, half hour, and then they sent me on my way, and then I went to work, and then that was it. And then my boss kept asking me if I had a penis growing out in the middle of my forehead.
Did you?
No, I mean, I don't. I mean, I don't. But, like I joked before, guys have been lying about inches for years. So maybe a couple extra inches on my forehead wouldn't be so bad. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it is what it is. I did it. It's done. And I'm going to do the second dose. And hopefully, the first thing on the agenda is once Susan and I are fully vaccinated is to be able to actually spend some time with people and get back to
you guys
some
have
semblance.
Well, I was asking that. So for the last 13 months, you guys have been pretty much homebodies outside of work?
No, we haven't really been homebodies. I mean, I work 7:30 to 4 every day. So I have kind of funky hours. I start at 7:30 where, normally people start at 8 or whatever.
Let me phrase that. Outside of work, have you guys you guys haven't gone anywhere, right?
No, we go all over the place, to be honest.
Okay.
We the only difference is we eat in the car, which we refer to as car dates because we're that cute couple that likes to.
Yeah, you guys are that cute couple, actually. Yeah.
That's my wife. My wife came up with that. So Susan came up with that. So we call it car dates. When I had my Explorer before I got my new car, we would refer to my Explorer as Cafe Ford. And we just, you got to make it fun somehow.
Yeah.
So we made it fun, and we'd call my truck, Cafe Ford and whatever.
Yeah.
And we would eat, like last year when COVID was like just running rampant, like a fucking crazy toddler or something. Our anniversary rolled around, and we went and we picked up food and, brought food home, and we had like an anniversary night on the couch, and we watched Serendipity at one point.
Oh, of course.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, of course. So, so that's just how we dealt with it. We went places, but the places we went were mostly spent like hanging out in the car. We would take drives on A1A and hang out with her mom and shit like that. I mean, the one highlight, I guess, in all of that was we went, we did a social distance. I don't know if you know what Noche Buena is, but Noche Buena
I know it is.
It's the good night. It's the night before Christmas,
right.
And Cubans celebrate the night before, which is Noche Buena. So we got invited to a socially distanced Noche Buena, and that was amazing because we got to see our friends in Miami who we love dearly, which would be Seth and Marcela Gonzalez. They're amazing. Seth
the ones
is known as Burger.
They have the food. Huh? Is it a food truck?
No, Seth is Burger Beast.
Okay.
Seth is one of the like
owners?
Big, food bloggers and so on. So,
okay.
We got to do that.
Right.
Huh?
No, because I always see that on your Facebook.
Oh yeah. So we got to do that, and that was amazing, and that was really important for both of us to be able to still experience things like that. It was socially distanced. We were 6 to 8 feet apart, really, and that was it. I mean, that's probably the biggest thing we've done thus far.
Okay.
We haven't really traveled. Like, we haven't gone to New York. We haven't done any of that kind of stuff that we normally would do. Trying to think what else we've done. Just little things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta somewhat stay active. I mean, as much of a homebody as I am, I can't. I have to at least be able to do a car date and something of that nature. I agree with you.
Right. Right. And I bought a car in the middle of COVID, which was weird, and which was in August, I think it was.
Right.
That I bought a car, and it was just the whole situation it's goofy doing all that because like we went to the dealership and the dealership was like, you're like the first customer that showed up today. It was awkward, man. It was really awkward.
It sounds strange.
Yeah, it was. And like I had to write them a check and they're all looking at me like, 10 feet away from me. And I'm like, wow, this is weird. Like people aren't allowed to sit with you. And, they didn't want us that close together, which, I mean, obviously that's the whole social distancing thing, but it was just, it was weird getting used to that level of non-interaction between human beings. Like, it's hard for me because I love hugging my friends.
Yep.
And, our friend Marcella in Miami gives, the best hugs and that kind of thing. Her and Susan are really close, and Seth and I are really close. And I always tease that Seth gives great hugs, and him and I met on Grindr, which I'm sure if he hears this, he'll be super excited that I said that. But I do. I tell his family. See, here's how it works. I tell his family that we met on Grindr. He tells his family that I send money to Fidel Castro. So it
oh my God.
Yeah, he's trying to get me killed in Miami, dude.
Yeah,
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's crazy. He's crazy in a fun way, like that.
Yeah.
So
it's money for Castro. Well, he is dead now, though.
Yeah. Yeah, and he told his wife's family, because his wife is from Nicaragua.
Mm-hmm.
He told his wife's family that I financially funded the Sandinistas, and it's like, really, dude? I would never.
Yeah.
I would never fund Fidel or the Sandinistas. Get the fuck out of here.
No way.
So, but he's like having a brother that's close in age, because him and I aren't that far apart in age. So, it's just weird. It's a unique relationship, and it's, he'll call me sometimes in the middle of the night. We'll sit and talk not before I go to work, but like before I go to sleep. Yeah, we'll sit and we'll talk we've talked before till like 1 a.m. And then I got up the next day at 6 and went to work.
Yeah, your day starts early.
Yeah, dude, I'm up at 6. I'm out of the house by 6:30.
Wow.
Every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I get to work. I work in Riviera Beach, so I work 23 and a half miles from where we live.
Yeah.
So I get to work and I chill in my desk and I drink coffee and I hang out with my bosses who are amazing. And I work for an amazing company that they take care of their people, and I get Christmas bonuses. I've got great insurance. I mentioned buying a car. I was able to buy a car because of the company, and you know what I mean? Like, 15 years ago, I was struggling.
Yeah.
I was struggling. I had no money or whatever. And now I've got money in the bank, and, I got a 2018 GMC Acadia Denali edition, and, fully loaded with leather seats. And I'm like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? I'm like,
and no kids. The best part, no kids.
Yeah, but it's more of like, what is all this? Where did all this shit come from?
Yeah.
It's really more
here,
of like,
you worked hard to get here,
Yeah, I've worked my ass off in the industry that I'm in to get where I am, and I work in an office. I don't work out in the field, but I kind of handle some of the technicians that are in the field, specifically the service technicians, and I do purchasing, so I order parts and all that kind of shit.
Right.
And my bosses, we work as a team. There's 3 of us. It's Tony, Patrick, and myself. And we work as a team, and we constantly interact and talk with each other, and it's fun. I have a good time. I get to come home every day to a woman that I love and that I can't live without.
You got it made, brother. You got it made.
Yeah, I'm lucky.
Yeah,
I'm lucky.
No. You're blessed.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm blessed. Yeah. Thoughts and prayers.
Jeez.
But no, in all seriousness, it's really what it is now. That's what my life is now.
Well, I'm proud of you, man.
It's not the same, Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm lucky, man.
Yeah. Well, let's end it there, because we can go a long time on this one. I want to save some of the topics, because a lot of topics we were going to talk about that we didn't get to.
Oh.
But we can save this for future episodes.
Like
the adoption and all that. So there's a lot of things we can talk about. I want to save for the next episode.
Yeah.
So, but hey, it's a pleasure having you on the podcast finally. You know, I haven't had a show in 10 years and your first time on the show. So it's good.
Yep.
So anyway, Dan, we'll talk soon. We'll get together soon. By the way, I don't know if you know this, but your wife texted me while we were recording.
Oh, really?
And we need to she was saying we need to get together soon, all of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which we will. So.
Yeah, we will.
All right. So. All right, man. We'll talk soon, okay?
Yep, definitely.
All right, buddy. Love you, buddy.
Love you too.
All right, buddy. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.